Bridget, welcome to Normalise Not Knowing.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry, we just have to laugh.
Sorry, this is so embarrassing, but we just did another content series and I introduce it and I say welcome. Like, I don't know why. It just
Like,
sounds
will
to me.
come?
Yes.
Like, welcome. But that's wrong.
It's an emphasis on the...
Which is really unfortunate. Welcome?
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Wow, welcome to Normalise Not Knowing. So Normalise Not Knowing is a podcast where we invite special guests on, and the whole idea is to normalize conversations about sustainability because we think it's a topic that everyone cares about and everyone wants to engage with.
Yes.
But it's often a scary conversation because people feel like they don't know enough and they're going to be judged. And also no one's a perfect environmentalist. So I think a lot of people feel like they can't engage if they're not, you know, a pure 100%, doing everything like 100% perfectly. So we're just getting people on to have these conversations. So we're super excited to have you.
I'm so glad that you started by saying that first two, Sage, because driving here I was thinking how similar the sustainability journey is to like a fitness journey, right?
Like, so true.
You
That's
know,
a really good
it's a
comparison.
very daunting, intimidating thing because it is such a big issue and there's so many ways to go about it. But like you said, people are scared to start and have, you know, that fear of being judged or mucking up. And
100%.
it can be really scary and
daunting. You don't want to go to the gym, use the big machines. It's like, you just have to show up.
Yes.
That's the first
It's
step.
just getting started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So we want to start off 2 questions. Question number 1, what is something that you do in your, it could be everyday life, every week, that is a sustainable choice?
There's a few.
okay.
Yeah,
We've got an
not to
overachiever
flex.
already.
No, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not. It's very, you know, small things. But, you know, that question, I think of things like using period underwear. I think of the reusable pads to remove makeup, no longer touching makeup wipes.
Until later.
Oh, yeah? I'm keen to try. But those things definitely come to mind first. I think of, you know, I take recycling quite seriously. Like I always will, you know, save something and walk out to the side of the house and put it straight in. You know, that's always top of mind for me. I guess reusable bags at the supermarket. There's all literally like...
Yeah, so you're super mindful of your waste footprint, I feel then.
Relatively. I know there's definitely more that I could be doing, but it is something that I'm actively trying to, you know, increase my impact, I suppose.
Is that like a conscious decision? Like you purposely make that, or do you think it just kind of comes to you effortlessly because, I don't know, everyone around you does it or you like doing it?
I think probably because I've been exposed to a lot of it in recent years, and I think probably with my time at Triple J, so I just finished up there after 7 years at the broadcaster, and especially because my show would come off the back of Triple J Hacks, so the Youth Current Affairs program. So, you know, they're really like, and I would commend them highly, really at the forefront of driving that conversation for young Australians. So I would be in my studio setting up and hearing one reporter in particular, Jo Lauder, who's based in Melbourne. She's done a couple of podcasts with ABC for, you know, environmental campaigns and climate change and stuff. And like it would be, you know, the messaging would be flowing through my studio as I'm setting up to do my show, which is music. So I personally would never have those conversations, but I would absorb a lot as to what, you know, what they were talking about.
Awesome.
So that kind of stuff I think has totally filtered through, and maybe not something that I was aware of until now that we're talking about it. Like, but that's probably
do a fair bit.
like that's probably where it stemmed. But I don't see myself as someone who actually does a fair bit. Like, you know, I was a little bit nervous about this because not that it's an interrogation, although these walls, the setup,
put it on.
These walls, we could be in for an interrogation. No, but I think I am certainly aware of there's more that I could be doing and more that I could be learning as well. But you have to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
100%. Well, that kind of leads on to part 2. What is something that you do that you know is not the most sustainable, but it's kind of like a bad habit that you can't really break? Or maybe it's just something that you don't want to do.
I think the 2 that I think of is being a meat eater. I have been all my life. And
it's hard. It's hard.
I think it also comes down to your upbringing, and, you know, one thing that I'm kind of keen to highlight is privilege is, comes a lot with sustainability. Like in order to be fully sustainable,
Definitely.
there is an amount of privilege to be able to live that lifestyle. And your impact, I think, in terms of sustainability can really depend on your upbringing, your socioeconomic status. And for me, I, certainly privileged in a lot of ways, but very working class, never really felt financially stable until I took a full-time job at Triple J in 2018. I was always minimum wage or below, Centrelink low income earner. And my family, did what they could, mum and dad could do what they could with 4 kids, mum raising 4 under 4 at one point.
Wow.
Going to a public school in Ballarat, we've definitely experienced some disadvantages. And when I think of things like groceries and eating sustainably, mum, it's not like mum could afford for a family of 6 on their income. My mum and dad are bus drivers, to have full, fresh, organic, chemical-free, good for the environment meals. It was very much, and also it was the 90s, so it was very much meat-heavy, meat and veg, literally meat and frozen veg, because it was cheap.
Totally.
Cost of living now is obviously fucked, so it makes it harder, but yeah, meat is probably a big one for me. My partner is a walking steak. He is his nickname is Porter. Yeah, we had steak last night.
Okay.
But yeah, I think meat eating and, I know, that definitely has an impact on the environment. And the other thing is probably fast fashion too. And growing up with what I could afford to wear, I wish sustainable clothing was accessible for everyone. And, that's hopefully something that we can try and figure out in the future. But yeah, I definitely am a fast fashion consumer. I worked in retail for a large portion of my life. So those are probably the 2 things. Yeah. And they're 2 big things.
Yeah. We have this conversation a lot about how it's not really accessible for a lot of people to make sustainable choices and options. The meat eating I totally relate to. And for me, I was vegetarian, I think, for 5 to 6 years. But I genuinely just love the taste of meat.
Yeah,
and I'm just going through a phase right now where I'm consuming meat and, do I know it's the wrong decision? Yes, technically, but I also am trying not to be so hard on myself and maybe make alternative decisions in other areas of my life. But it's difficult. It's really difficult.
I mean, it's a part of, I don't want to be out here fully, defending meat eating. I'm definitely aware, but also aware of, it has been a part of human nature. It's how we have in terms of evolution and stuff.
Absolutely.
And the food chain,
and how you feel in general, even just energy levels and bits of other pieces.
It's a tricky one to kind of navigate.
I just think there is no black and white answer on that. And on both fronts, it's if you can't afford, the most sustainable cotton dress or whatever, and you only had $10 and that was what you can buy, well, what are you supposed to do?
Exactly.
And who are other people to judge that? That's what I think, because no one's perfect, and that's the whole point of the pod is no one can do it perfectly. So the judgment around it, and I was actually going to ask you this a bit later in the episode, but do you ever feel judged by friends who are vegetarian or vegan?
I honestly haven't with, the people that I know in my life. And I have a lot of vegetarian and vegan friends. One of my best friends is, pretty strictly vegan. But I've never felt judged by them. My 30th birthday, we went to Green Man's Arms in Carlton, which is such a good pub. And it's all veggie. And the food that they punch out, you wouldn't even feel like you're missing out on meat. It's true. Very filling and fulfilling, I suppose. But my friends, no, there's never been confrontation there. I have been trolled by a vegan before.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the trolling comment?
Oh, it was so bizarre. And this is probably a thing that makes me kind of intimidated by the whole thing, I guess. It literally started out on Instagram. I think I posted a photo of me at Bunnings with a snag.
Oh, come on.
And I would just,
I was going to say an Australian rite of passage.
I know. But this guy used to troll me who was a vegan and would reply to anytime I would post about meat, which wasn't even a you know,
It's
a
not even a
frequent
topic.
thing though. It would
Yeah.
literally be like maybe every few months if I'm out for dinner and there's a Parma or I'm at Bunnings. Like I'm not my content is not
Yes.
meat heavy.
Yeah, no, I was going to say not at all.
Yeah, but this guy really
What
picked
did
up
he
on
say?
it.
Heard your boyfriend's called Porter. Shame on you and the snag.
But it's interesting.
Oh, well, if he
because
wasn't blocked now, he'd
I'm
be
joking.
livid.
I find it interesting though because you're not claiming to be an environmental
Not at
activist.
all.
No,
you
I never have. It's
Oh,
honestly
you
never
just
been
cheater
a
about the snag.
yeah.
Shame.
But it was pretty abusive. Like
Oh, it was nasty.
yeah, it was a few years ago, and it actually was around the time where it was Black Summer. So you know, I was posting a lot about that because it was, you know, it was fucked. Like it was a
Absolutely.
really distressing summer for everyone, and being like, what are we doing about climate change? Like that was when it was literally heating up the conversation, and knowing about the wildlife and seeing the footage of the koalas. Like I adopted a koala from Port Macquarie Animal Hospital and posted about it, and he replied to it just being like, it's so like how dare you do this when you eat meat, like this means shit, like real intense.
Whoa.
And you know, I obviously blocked him, but yeah, that stuff's really tricky when, like you mentioned before, Sage, about I guess when you're being sustainable in some ways and others you can't be or you're not. That expectation that you have to do it
all or nothing.
straight up,
It's
all or nothing.
I don't know why in this community it feels like that. And like speaking of cancel culture, because we feel like part of the reason again that we're doing this is we just feel like anytime you speak out about not doing something perfectly on sustainability, people just come for you and they're like, how dare you, literally what you experience. What are your thoughts on like cancel culture as a whole? Like, are you ever scared to post stuff since you have had that kind of happen to you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it exists really loudly in the environmental space, and it is what, you know, puts a lot of people off from even trying because they're so
100%.
scared of that. So that has obviously been a concern for me. And I mean, I even think about like horse racing too. You know, I've been invited to go to horse racing luncheons and to the race courses. I went to like the Ballarat Cup in, you know, 2011. Like that was probably the last time I have attended a horse racing carnival. But since, you know, having more education and awareness as to, you know, that stuff doesn't align with me. And as a freelancer now being invited to those events and having the conversation even with my manager, I was like, you know, this stuff, that doesn't align with me. And I also know I would get a lot of backlash about it because I've even posted, you know, in the past, like, you know, the cup's really bad and up to the cup and not something that I just don't, beyond the animal treatment as well, it's the culture of the gambling and stuff and the alcohol, it's just a little bit too intense for me. So turning down those kinds of things, because I know if I posted it, people would be like,
Come on.
this is a really bad look.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of that. And it is a bad look for me and I agree with it. So even if they offered me a lot of money, I just
It's
couldn't.
not worth it.
It's not worth it.
So if Shein offered you $1 million tomorrow, would you take it for a
No,
prize?
and I've never shopped from Shein either.
Yeah.
There
Isn't
you
that?
go.
But it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
I didn't realize,
It's
honestly,
a
the
beast.
extent.
It is a beast. I mean, there's fast fashion and then there's Shein.
Yeah.
Okay, it's another extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're just taking the mickey now.
They really are.
Yeah.
Wait, I feel like we got so deep into it so quickly that I feel like some people might be listening and go, hey, hang on, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, what I do?
Wait,
Who
before
is
you do, I was
she?
like, who is she? But before you do, can I just tell you one funny thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was stalking you on Instagram, which I feel like I do frequently. And anyway, I have a lot
Doing
of
your research.
Yeah, do my research. And I have a lot of friends that follow you. I think I had like 120 friends that follow you, which is a lot because I have like 0 friends. So I'm looking at the friends that follow you because I'm also just curious, like, okay, like who in my network's following you? I see the name of my stepdad, Jason, he's a legend. And I'm like, hang on. My stepdad literally follows like 20 people on Instagram and 19 of them would probably be our close family and very close friends. And you're one of them. I'm like, hang on, what? So I call Jason. I'm like, Jace, do you want
Jason from Ringwood?
No.
I was going to say, is this a caller before?
No. And he's like, oh my God, obsessed, used to listen to her on radio all the time. Like, are you actually meeting her? That is so cool.
Oh.
He has never thought anything I'm doing is as cool to that extent. So, by the way, thanks for helping me make it.
Shout out, Jason.
Shout out, Jace.
I was literally like, is this
Yeah,
a
I mean, the good
caller?
book said thank you.
Yeah.
Is someone I've spoken to on Good Nights before?
Yeah,
Probably.
No, probably.
Jason's probably done
Jason
it.
probably has. But yeah, I mean, he thought it was the biggest deal ever. But so for those listening,
cute.
can you give us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah.
Your journey to date.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting in the sense that I probably do have a pretty vast following.
Very vast.
People from Triple J, people from endometriosis, people maybe even from the project and whatever else. I don't know, even probably football now because my partner's just come out of like the AFL system. So that's like, she's got range. No.
She's got depth.
That's so funny. No, so, okay. I guess mostly people would probably know me from Triple J. So last 7 years on there, 5 years hosting Good Nights, which is the evenings music program. Really loved my time, but decided to step away this year. I have a book called How to Endo, which is a guide to surviving and thriving with endometriosis, which came out in 2021. So I was diagnosed with endo in 2018. So I speak a lot on that lived experience with chronic illness. And I have a podcast too. So that's called Figuring Out 30.
You're busy.
Yeah, she's a bit busy. So yeah, that's
Figuring Out 30, which I really need to subscribe to because I'm about to be 30 next year.
This will help you. Trust
This
me.
is for me.
Yeah,
This is for me.
It's been such a fulfilling and rewarding personal project. That's, I guess, why I started it, and now it's kind of like a weekly thing. But yeah, just dabble in media.
You're not
writing.
dabbling. You're doing a lot more than dabbling. I was going to say this is like a dream of so many people that would want to crack in the scene.
Yeah.
So congrats on your amazing journey.
Thanks. Yeah.
What are the things that you're doing at the moment that you like the best?
Probably podcasting.
Yeah.
It's very tedious in that I present and produce it. So I'm doing all the editing and, the sourcing talent to interview, the research and everything. It's literally a one-woman show. Great personal development, like that skill set I think is really valuable. And I think it's just rewarding to have, I loved my time and I still really want to continue music presenting. Like I'm so passionate about new music, Australian music. So it's finding a space for that at the moment.
In your own way.
Yeah, in my own way, but still being able to do other things and grow as a presenter. So I love when I can pop on the project every now and then and be on the panel and talk about news and, current affairs in a lighthearted way. And then the podcast, just having really rewarding conversations with people who are like going through the same life stages as me, I think so fulfilling, and I learn a lot from that. So yeah, it's just the freedom of having conversations with different people and beyond music. I'd love to do like travel presenting. I used to be a travel agent before Triple J.
No way.
Yeah, I've worked in call centers and
You've done it all.
retail, travel. It's she's worked around.
What are you listening to at the moment? Now I'm just curious for a hot tip.
Music-wise?
Yeah, music-wise.
There's this really great new trio called Need a Name Bro.
And I need to write that down.
It's all
Australian?
UK.
Okay.
So I think you'll really like their song. So they've just released their debut song. Need a Name Bro is all one word, and it's just a floating title. They literally need a name for their trio, for their little girl
it's
group.
literally need a name.
But they've released
even
this
cooler.
debut song under that.
And then keep it.
Yeah,
Need a Name Bro.
it really rolls. The debut single is called Better Love, and it's giving kind of Sugar Babes, kind of All Saints, but
It's
got
for me.
reimagined.
It's for me.
You got me a Sugar Babe.
Their vocals are insane.
Wow.
I can't stop listening. It's the best debut of the year for me. So
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll be doing it in
That's
the car.
good.
Right?
Yeah.
We need that because we were discussing how we both get obsessed with songs and then just listen.
We play them
Yeah.
on repeat. That's
Yeah.
our toxic trait.
Like, I'm not someone who is changing it up
Nope.
every car ride.
Yeah.
Like, my car rides for 6
Yep.
months look the exact same.
Well, it's nice for me not doing stepping out of Good Nights where it was premiering new songs every single night.
Right.
I guess I don't want to say it became disposable, but it was really hard for me to just sit with a song or sit with an album.
And let it be obsessed.
Yeah, and absorb it and really let it soundtrack a moment for me. And now I can kind of return to that music fan and have that time and
that's
space to
nice.
enjoy it in that way that I used to.
That is nice.
Yeah, it's so nice. And I've just got this little list of like 6 or 7 songs that have been released this year that I just
They're
will-
cycled.
repeat.
They're
Yeah,
cycled.
that is the roster.
That's like me. I've always got 3 on the go.
Yeah.
And that's all I listen to until I know every word, and then I'll move on.
yeah, it's so nice to have that now.
Yeah. So, out of curiosity, is a personal question, but you said you're not an artist. Are you a musician at all? Like, no.
Do you like that I assumed you were too? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
sure. I'm like,
Yeah.
your industry, come on.
Bro, nah. So,
No.
I mean, I was handed the trombone in year 8.
Okay.
And year 7 and 8, me and my sister both got allocated trombone in school band. And I was really pushing for a woodwind, but I got stuck with this long fucking brass instrument, longer than my arms.
Yeah.
Also had to catch a country bus home every night. So lugging that thing on the bus, hell. I did drumming for like a semester, so I can lay down a basic beat. My hands are too small to play a guitar. Can't even hold a pint glass of these things, like let alone on the fretboard. No. So I'm.
What
just
about your vocals? Because I feel like your voice. Because do you know what? To me, listening to you, I'm like, your voice is so soothing.
You need to watch my
feel like you'd
Instagram
have
stories
it.
when I'm at a gig and you hear me singing
in the background.
terrible. I'm like known for it. Like it's
so good.
yeah. I wish.
Where did your music obsession come from?
Oh, I don't know. I think growing up in Ballarat, I listened a lot to Power FM, which is like the local commercial station. They used to do the Hot 20 every night. So I'd listen to that as where I won my first CD, Westlife, Coast to Coast.
Ooh, shout out.
Yeah. I grew up watching a lot of Channel V.
Oh, yeah.
Idolized Channel V.
So did I.
Yeah, and that's where I got my start in presenting in 2012. I auditioned for their presenter search.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was like
cold. So you cold audition. That's how you cracked into the industry.
Yeah, the only
No connects, no intros.
no,
Just your hard work.
yeah, the only experience too I would have had that would be anything close to presenting was literally debating and public speaking in high school.
Right.
So I guess it was the ability,
Still a
or
talent.
just having I guess that confidence to speak, and then with like true passion for the channel
Yeah.
and knowing everything about Channel V and for music.
You're obsessed.
Yeah, and it like 6,000 people applied and I came second to Marty Smiley, who won the competition.
I love
She's
that.
Yeah,
cute.
thanks. I'm really proud of it.
That's
But that
massive.
started everything
Let's
for
just
me.
like let that sink in for a second as well, because a lot of people would assume, like even me as just like an average consumer, a lot of people would assume that you need a lot of connects to crack into industries like this,
Yeah.
and unless you know someone or get an intro, it would be like incredibly hard. Like that's what I would have thought.
Yeah,
I mean, I have no idea.
I mean, everyone gets into it in different ways, but that was
Yeah.
my start. And then after that, I did a lot of pretty much free music writing for an online music website,
cool.
gig reviews, phone interviews with bands. So, it was like 6 years of grind and
You
a
were
lot of
hustling.
unpaid work.
Yeah.
And then finally through community radio in Melbourne, I went through SYN, which is a student youth network. An alumni member, I suppose, worked at Double J. So I literally tweeted him and was like, can I have your email? And then he kindly gave it to me. And then I was like, how do you get a job at Triple J?
Yeah.
So, then we did demos, and then I was on the graveyard shift, which is like 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I did, really worked my way through the roster.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a grind. And honestly, one of the hardest things about leaving was knowing how many years I've put into getting to that point.
Right.
But I certainly don't regret it, and I can still do those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of work can go into it. But then I've also seen other people literally just walk into it, and I'm just like,
Really?
fuck, you didn't have to do what I did.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, wow.
and maybe it's easier now because there's so many different platforms in which you can be known. And I think especially with the younger, the demographic that Triple J aim for, 18 to 24, they're on TikTok and they're on Instagram. They're not necessarily listening to radio. So sourcing talent from those platforms and seeing how they can cross over to the
pull them in.
broadcaster.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
interesting.
always moving and changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I did it.
Oh, I'm so incredibly impressed. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Do you remember the day when they told you that you were going to be the host of Good News?
Oh God, yeah, it was traumatic. Do you
Was
want to
it?
yeah,
we
do
wanna
you want to
hear.
know the story?
Yeah, of course.
Fucking hell. So I never saw it coming. Dom Alessio, who used to host Home and Hosed, he announced he was leaving. And my dream was actually to always host Home and Hosed, which is the Australian music show.
Yeah.
So they did an internal application process for that. I think about 8 people applied for it. So you'd do like a demo, there was like a bunch of questions we had to answer, and yeah, it was like a full application, and I was like, I need this. This is a show that I've been gunning for. I can't do another year on mid-dawns, like the 1 a.m., 6 a.m. It's so gnarly. And I got pulled into a room similar to this actually for a FaceTime with my 2 bosses who were in Sydney, because I brought would broadcast out of Melbourne, and they said, we're not going to give you Home and Hose. And I just felt like the moment, it's like Millhouse, like when you see his heart rip in two, or was it Ralph, one of them Simpsons?
It was Ralph.
And yeah, when they said that, in my mind, I was just like, fuck. Yeah. And then they're like, but we want you to do good nights. And
Stop it.
The first thing I was
I
like,
got goosebumps for you. I'm excited for you.
Well, it was really surprising because I didn't know what was happening to Linda Mariano, who I grew up listening to. Yeah. And I just never saw good nights as an attainable goal for me, broadcasting out of Melbourne. And also just, I had never filled in on that show previously. And I would have loved to. Like, that was, you know, that is the pinnacle of music programming on radio. But yeah, they were like, we want you to do good nights. We need you to move to Sydney and we need to know by the morning. And I was like, what the fuck?
We need to know by the morning.
Yeah. It was just a real blindside. And I was also in a long-term relationship and
it's a big commitment.
I spent the next 2 hours in the room that I was in like this, just crying. So I was because I was like, what does this mean for my relationship?
Yeah, this is a work dream as well.
Yeah, moving to Sydney, I never saw that being a thing. Yeah. My family dynamic is interesting in that, like, I've got 3 siblings, but I don't have relationships with any of them. I'm the only one who talks to my parents. So the thought of leaving them was really hard. Yeah, I didn't want to be far from them because they were already pretty isolated. Yeah, there was a lot, but I mean, obviously decided to take it. Ended up doing the first year in Sydney, but then I convinced them to let me bring it back to Melbourne.
So that's how, okay.
Yeah. So
what a journey.
That's what happens, Sage.
Wow. Okay.
Were you expecting that answer?
No, I was not at
trauma.
All. Yeah, I was like, what's your follow-up question to the trauma?
A lot of crying.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it was an interesting year. It was actually a really lonely year in Sydney because I put so much into that relationship. I'm not even with that guy anymore anyway.
It's not boredom.
No, it's not Darling Oscar. But yeah, it was just a really weird year. But it was, I wouldn't take it back.
Right.
But I'm so glad I could come back to Melbourne because it's my city.
Yeah. Me too. I love this city. I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
I grew up thinking I used to want to like live overseas, and now the thought of leaving Melbourne, I'm like, why? I live in one of the best cities in the world. I feel so lucky and privileged to live here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I posted a TikTok the other day. I was like, spend the day with me living in the best city in the world.
Yes.
I
put the sauce on it.
I mean, I think it's factually correct anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't Smith Street get like #1 street in the world?
Did it?
Yeah.
I love Smith Street.
Yeah. Yep. And Fitzroy as a suburb as well.
Yeah. Okay, should we bring it back a bit to sustainability?
All right, bring them in. Bring in the big guns. Go.
So you obviously focus a lot on gender equality, specifically women's health issues, and talking up about your experience with endometriosis. Do you ever associate gender equality and sustainability together?
Never. Honestly, never until the question was put forward. I was like, wow, I've never even taken the time to look into it. And I did do like a little bit of, scrolling on the UN website and stuff and just reading the links and even when you just think about like women in leadership and making those decisions. And the thing that kind of kept coming back to me, I suppose, with, if we're going... Well, look, if we're talking about women's health and sustainability, literally the 2 things I think of are like period cups and period underwear.
Yeah, so true. So true.
But in terms of like gender equality and sustainability, I was, really just going back to the whole, not enough women in those high positions of power to make the decisions. And I don't know if I feel like it's correct for me to say, but of course we're going to have better environmental outcomes if it's led by women, because I would say that women have more of that emotional connection and we're thinking of our children and our communities. So we nurture by nature, which is a pretty funny phrase, I guess, because we're talking about nature and it's like the nurturing nature too. Yeah. But that's our instinct. And it's something that, I don't want to be like generalizing, but not all men and not all male leaders possess that.
Oh, definitely.
Like, that's just how it is,
It comes back to having a balanced view. I feel like is so important.
And I think as well for something like the environment and climate change, there is an emotional element because it's our lives. Yeah. It's our future, our lives.
That's so true.
It's bigger than life. So you have to have like an emotional approach as well as a logistical thing. And it was really interesting. Like, it's something that I think I should definitely dive into more, because I was like kind of wide-eyed reading it, being like, holy shit, like the correlation, the link, the relationship exists there.
Yeah, well, it's one of the UN sustainability.
Number 5.
Not that I'm equality.
I was like, are you pausing for? I was like, are you pausing for dramatic effect?
Yes, that was intentional.
I'm like, number 5. Yes, I know all the goals. Thought you were just checking me there.
No, I thought you were going to say number 5 of the UN sustainability
SDGs.
Yeah. I read this really interesting article on The Guardian about women as consumers, and like, sadly, women consume more than men, and so then brands tailor messaging and more like sustainability towards women,
because they're usually the primary purchaser for the home. Which again is a massive gender stereotype. But even, I mean, this on my podcast, I just spoke about sobriety, and we were talking about sobriety through a feminist lens and the marketing of alcohol towards women. And there's a thing called mummy juice in America, I've never heard of it.
And it's marketed to mothers being like, you've had a really tough day.
Stop.
You deserve a mommy juice. Nothing.
To take the edge off or whatever.
And then you do it all again tomorrow. And it's like, okay, that's not addressing the patriarchal issues of women still doing majority of unpaid labor, unfair working conditions in terms of leave and that flexibility. But here's a wine. No, here's mummy juice.
And like also just pushing, like, you've had a bad day, here's the solution, alcohol. Like, how is that the solution to help you unwind from the day?
I was horrified when Jill Stark was telling me about it. But beyond, sustainable products, the way in which many things in this world are marketed towards women, it just highlights, when you stop to think about it, highlights the disadvantage and the inequality for sure.
Speaking of marketing, I feel like another thing that we speak about quite often is just greenwashing as a whole, and like brands really taking advantage of consumers wanting, products that fit a better impact for the climate. And I feel like people are like kind of taking advantage, especially some of the larger corporations, and probably embellishing on their impact. But I don't know, do you ever think about greenwashing, or if you see an ad for something marketed, you're like, ugh, it's probably greenwashing?
Yeah, I've never thought about greenwashing a lot, but I'm probably someone that buys into it 100%. Like, as a consumer, if I see particular words like natural, organic and sustainable, and, there are certain words that people can really flesh out and, take advantage of, I suppose. So, I think as a consumer, I'd be pretty like gullible to it. But, I haven't really... I mean, I went to an event, like I hosted an event for Garnier recently about their journey to greener beauty, and that kind of opened my eyes a bit as to, how I guess some, companies and brands do greenwashing. But I really do like what they was talking about, and especially the word journey, and Lottie DL, who's like the New South Wales Young Australian of the Year, who runs Banish, like, the way she was talking about sustainability as a journey was, it really stuck with me, because it is what we were saying at the start about it's small things, you start from somewhere. It's not the expectation to be everything immediately.
Definitely.
Right now. But I think, those kind of brands, like I mean, I was like really impressed by the awareness there, and more so their transparency of being like, we haven't got it all figured out, but we're...
Because nobody does.
Yeah, but as I guess a really big brand, we are trying to do things, and we want to make small change. I mean, they're going to be making a pretty big change to one of their products, which will have huge consequences. But long-term environmentally, it's the right thing to do. But they're aware of like, the hit that will take to their sales. I think those things are really nice, but I honestly haven't really even, because I don't even, especially in the beauty space, like I haven't really dabbled in it much, but it's been really interesting recently to kind of have a bit more awareness. Yeah.
You're not alone in that. I think majority of people and consumers wouldn't be able to pick out what greenwashing, when greenwashing is happening.
It's just the buzzwords, right?
Thrown at you constantly.
Correct.
And then you think if they're not making those like buzzwords, you're like, well, are they even doing it or do they care? But I mean, I'm torn as well because I also think it's good that a lot of brands are trying to focus on sustainability. So I'm like, okay, well, at least they know. And I feel like knowing's the first step to understanding your impact, to understand how you can change it, to make better choices. So it's hard. It's a tricky one. There's no set guidelines on what you can and cannot say either.
Yeah.
So it just makes it hard.
Yeah, but you know what? I think there's a difference between brands intentionally like trying to make better decisions and then being transparent and honest and saying we're not perfect.
Yeah.
But comparing that to brands who they're clearly not really don't care about it. It's objectively greenwashing. They're just plonking a bunch of words and catchphrases on their branding. You know, there's a difference
100%.
between that. It's just hard as the consumer to pick it out.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be on the consumer. Like we should be able to trust the brands that we're using and engaging with.
Definitely.
We should be able to trust what they're saying and claiming. But yeah. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a lot. Like, there's so much work to be done there, I guess, in that space. But as you said, it shouldn't be on the consumer. They don't know any better. Like,
no, it's like if this says, you know, this is an edible cup, which it is, and it's got long black coffee, okay, I should be able to eat that.
Yeah. I do want a nibble.
Yeah, do you want a nibble?
We take a bite.
Yeah.
Die.
It's like a hard wafer. It's good.
Yeah.
It's like a wafer.
Bit of chew.
okay.
Yeah. Do you have any people in your life who are climate deniers? And if you do, have you ever had to have a conversation with them? How would you approach that?
I wouldn't say climate deniers, and I don't know if I'd even say climate delayers, but probably just people who don't even have it at all as a priority.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these people, I think actually, when I think about them, are probably more economically driven. So I do remember a conversation I had recently with someone, I think it was in light of the federal election actually, and I posted a table comparing what which each political party was doing in terms of the environment and climate change. And, you know, they replied being like, oh, well, that's all, you know, fine and dandy, but who's going to boot the bill for these policies and all of that to kick in? And, you know, their argument was like, in order for this stuff to happen, we need a strong economy. So we need a party in place who can give us a strong economy, and their political beliefs differ to mine. So that was an interesting chat, I guess, because they were just like, well, it's just not possible because we need to like be able to manage the economy better to make it possible. And so that for them was their priority.
Yeah.
So that's probably the extent of it. And it was a little confronting because I'm certainly not the most intellectual political person. You know, I'm just your average Joe. Probably could learn more about it totally. But yeah, I almost felt like a bit not intimidated, but I didn't feel fully equipped to handle the conversation.
Yeah.
But that's probably,
and
definitely.
politics makes it another layer of awkwardness.
Well, it can just get really tense.
It can get very tense.
Yeah, really awkward and tense. So that's probably the extent of it. I definitely don't even think I have anything I don't think I have anyone in my life who are, you know, like climate change isn't real.
Yeah. Okay.
That'd be pretty fucked.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Should we play?
Let's play a game.
Oh,
Word
okay.
This is word association.
Yeah, I
We're just
know.
going to throw some words at you.
Oh, I thought you were telling me. I'm like, yeah, I know.
All right. Not you, love.
Me.
Sorry, what an idiot. I'm like, can I play the game?
We're going to throw some words at you and you're just going to say the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear it.
Okay. And does it have to be a one-worded answer?
No, it could be a sentence.
Oh, okay,
A
cool.
feeling.
Okay.
Whatever. Okay, sustainability.
I just thought period cup.
So you use period underwear?
Period underwear. I haven't, I've tried the period cup and I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
But as someone with endo, it's sometimes hard to get things up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, and it can be, painful. So I'm still figuring that out.
Okay.
But period
Do
underwear.
you like them?
Yeah, especially nighttime.
Period
like,
underwear are great to sleep in.
So good.
What
yeah.
brand do you use?
I use Modi Body and Libra. Those are the two. And I also have a Tom Organic pair as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a range. But they've changed my night routine when I have my period for sure, because I would literally just get the surfboard pads all the time. So I'm buying less, period products.
100%.
And they're so easy to wash. So easy. Yeah, they've made life so much easier.
Yeah, I used the Bonds one.
I was going to say, I used the...
Oh, really?
I literally was going to say, I actually got gifted the Bonds ones last year, so I used the Bonds ones. Stop it.
And they're good?
Yeah.
Like, does the job.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably TMI, but like I have a really light period. So for me, I can't compare if it was like a very heavy period.
Yeah.
So.
Well, mine's, usually pretty heavy the first few days. So when I started using period underwear, I was really scared. Like even still had like, a spare like sheet under the bottom just in case. But I have never bled through once.
No, neither actually. No. I've never, no.
And so do you have to wash them separately to other items?
You kind of, I don't know.
I put them in a bag.
Yes.
So you have one of those bags in the, do you know what I'm talking about? Like a washing machine bag. I put them in those.
Okay.
Yeah. I just put everything else in there.
Yeah. I usually like rinse them and then put them in there, and then you can just put it on with like a general load.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so easy.
Yeah. Because otherwise what are you going to do? Like how many underwears do you have? Like I've only got like 2.
Yeah.
I can't just put 2 in the washing machine. What a waste of water. Do you know what I mean?
Next word is skincare.
Serum.
Serum. Do you love a serum?
Your go-to.
Yeah. So I never had a skincare routine until 2018 when I was getting laser, really.
Ooh.
So, and I was just put on Skinstitute from Laser Clinics Australia.
I was going to say Laser Clinics Australia.
Yeah. And since then, I've just been... I like really take my skincare and my dental hygiene really seriously.
Do you?
Yeah, and I actually recently broke out a little here, and it's nothing, but I was really...
You have really not.
Well, I think it's eased down because I tried a new, it's always hard when you do try new
and you
products.
introduce a new product.
Yeah, and it's almost like when you feed your dog new stuff, right?
Yes.
You have to ease into it, otherwise they'll vomit.
One at a time. One at a time.
So my skin had a little spew. But yeah, 2018. So I feel like I was kind of late to the skincare party, really, because I was 27 then.
Well, because you were
anything.
gifted with great skin.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Can I ask then, what is your routine at the moment?
So when I have a shower in the morning, I'll do my cleanser, and then I'll come out and I don't even know if this is the right routine, but I remember when I first got the stuff from Skinstitute years ago, I just remember the order that they were like the serum stuff, then an active mist spray, and then moisturizer, or sometimes I would use a more liquidy serum, like water cooler or something like that, and that's just what I do every morning. I don't even do it at night time. I just do it every
use
morning.
an SPF or a face oil or anything like that?
Well, the sunscreen is that. How do you pronounce that brand? La Repose-Posay.
La Roche-Posay. Great sunscreen. I say La Roche-Posay. Am I saying it wrong?
No, I just never.
I also use that sunscreen. Great sunscreen.
Yeah, their face one is really.
I can
light.
never say the second word either. It's like the sunscreen's called like No,
I'm just like
yeah.
So when I walk Daisy, my dog, every day, I'll always put sunscreen on.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a little bit, she's 32 now. Like
Sunscreen,
this is the time that really counts.
I was going to say the best
and on my
aging
neck.
cost.
Yeah, truly. So that's my skincare routine, and then a face mask every now and then. If I have to get my makeup done for an event, I'll always do like a little eye mask. But I tend to get quite oily, so that's probably my downfall. But yeah, that's my routine. Like, it's nothing extravagant.
I'm to try out.
Yeah, same. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I'm excited. And I'll tell you about,
We've got
I was going to say, we're also launching a product later this year that I feel like you'll be into. But
oh, cool.
I won't say it yet. I'll say it.
Okay, off air? Yeah.
The scoop.
Yeah, I'm so keen.
Okay, what about the next word? Okay, you'll laugh at this word. Sheen.
Oh. Okay, the first word that came to mind was TikTok.
But you know what? That's
just
a really
because
good
it's
one.
Yeah, people will like unashamedly put on the Shein hauls, and I'm like,
outrageous.
Yeah, and it's mostly Americans, but I'm like,
yeah, why do I get served them though all the way in Australia?
I don't know, that weird global reach, right? But I mean, yeah, I don't think I've seen an Australian do a Shein haul. It's just I've never ordered from there. Like, that's one brand I would feel really bad about ordering from.
Yeah.
Like, I would have a really guilty yuck feeling in my stomach.
It never even appealed to me regardless, that I just never even wanted to order from them.
Yeah, well, the quality's not even amazing, right?
I'm sure not. But didn't you say that on labels?
Yeah.
Like, their workers have
put like little messages. Yeah, I've
mean,
seen that on
that to me,
TikTok.
I don't
I'm
even
just
know what
like,
to say on
yeah,
that. I'm like, how they haven't even been shut down just purely based off
That's
that.
what
It's
I was
scary
thinking.
just from a human
The
rights
fact that
perspective.
they even exist, like,
Yeah, how are they
existing,
even
that they're
orbiting?
on TikTok? Like, it's
scary.
mind-baffling.
Yeah. So I think of TikTok when I think when you say
TikTok.
Sheen.
That's a good one. Go on, Sage. Pick the best one.
Yeah, let me take a look. Vegan.
Porter. I'm just kidding. Like I was playing.
Vegan. I think of like chickpeas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like beans. Legumes.
I love
Is that how you say
beans.
legumes?
Legumes. La Roche-Posay and legumes.
Legumes. Yeah, that's what I think of vegan.
Yeah. I love chickpeas.
I love beans.
Beans.
I'm having a white bean
No,
obsession
we-
at the moment.
We've been
Oh,
talking about
I'm
beans.
obsessed with them.
I'm obsessed.
I'm
as
obsessed
well.
with them. I can't
like
stop
in
buying them.
salads and stuff?
In salads, warmed up in like vegetable, like sauteed.
Yum.
I am blended as like a white bean dip. I
Okay.
mean, the versatility of those
Yeah. Yeah.
Really good protein.
beans. Really good
Yeah.
protein. Really good. What am I, spruiking beans?
Yeah.
The sponsor of today's episode
Is beans. It's like when you just see those ads about like pork or like avocados. This is brought to you by beans. No, I went to a really nice Greek restaurant in Hobart in March and
Yum.
yeah, the range of bean dips. That
Oh,
they had,
yeah,
though. Like
delish.
Greeks know what's up.
They do. They are my people.
Well,
there you go. They're
yeah.
half my people.
Yeah.
I'm half Greek.
I love that.
Awesome. Oh, yay. Well,
Yay.
thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me though. It was fun and
Yay.
not scary at all.
No. Good.